Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Commerce Lab by Ecomcy, the pleasure of everything related to Amazon FBA, private label, and e-commerce. My name is Vincenzo Toscano, founder and CEO of Ecomcy, your host. And today we bring in our special guest. Her name is Emma, and she's the co-founder and CEO of Marketing by Emma, which is one of the top agencies in the space that I know that specialize on everything that has to do with branding and listing optimization. Before actually going live, I was talking about how important is not only the listing optimization that we always talk about, like the keywords and all of that and the tools, but actually how you embed understanding your customer avatar, the branding behind your product, and make that part of your listing. So that's something that I'm very excited to discuss with you, Emma, today. Before that, I want to welcome you to the show, and it's a pleasure. So how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for hosting me. I look forward to diving into the world of branding and listing optimization.
Very exciting. Yeah, I know branding is something that I feel you never really end up covering the whole thing. It's like there are so many moving parts, and I'm sure today we're gonna be learning something new from you. And before we dive into all the technicality of the topic, I think what would be very interesting for our audience is to learn more about you, like how you jump into the Amazon space, what made you basically found your company Marketing by Emma, and then we can go from there. Yeah.
Ab- Absolutely. So, my husband and I started Marketing by Emma in 2016. Prior to
Okay.
that, I had been working in various businesses doing marketing and sales. And we were contemplating what to do next and wanting to find something that would give us more flexibility and freedom. And honestly, when we first started, I envisioned this being something that I would be doing on the side, that
Mhm.
laptop lifestyle of
Yeah.
working on the beach, working a few hours a day. That's not really how it panned out. I guess the good and the bad is quite soon after we started our business. The Amazon space is pretty interesting and word travels fast. So we
Yeah.
did some good work for some people. And before I knew it, I can picture this day so clearly. We sat down on the couch to answer some inquiries. And I don't think that we got up off the couch other than to eat and take care of personal needs for a few days. And it was just like, whoa, what is happening here? Is this something that we want to grow and
Yeah.
hire a team, or do we want to just be really selective? And ultimately we decided, let's see where we can take this. And so we started figuring out how to build systems and processes and what tools to use and hiring and training and all the things that go with that. And now fast forward, we're approaching 8 years, and
Wow.
there's been a lot. The Amazon space has changed a lot, but the
I know.
core remains. And I think the core will always remain. And that's why I'm really excited to be talking with you today about branding and sort of the bigger picture of how to position both your individual products as well as your business as a whole, because those are such important foundations that when done correctly can really help inform every decision that you're making in your business and set you up for long-term success rather than just being a flash of quick growth, but then the flame dying out quickly, which ultimately, when we're growing, we want to be able to sustain what we're building for the long term.
Yeah, that's such an amazing story. I actually remember when I started my journey as a seller, I recall you guys like booming out of the water. Like suddenly everybody was talking about Emma and the top agents in the space when it comes to listing optimization. I even remember using some of your content for my self-learning. So yeah, very
Oh,
good. And
well,
I
cool.
have seen your journey. So I just wanted to give you congrats on that.
Thank you.
Now, tell me a little bit about why you decide to go down the route of specializing on branding and listing, and maybe not, let's say, PPC. Like, why you think listing optimization branding is so important nowadays when it comes to selling
Well,
Amazon?
yeah, I'm a big believer in recognize where your skills are and where you have
Mhm.
something special that you can contribute. And so I've always been somebody who is a strong writer, a very curious, an observer of the world and of people. And I think that just lent itself to the copywriting, the creative strategy, the vision, all the vision that goes along with that side of the business. Of course, these two things go very hand in hand. And I suppose we could have decided to venture into PPC and all of that world, and we've just decided to really lean in on where we specialize, and
you
that's
guys did
a lot.
amazing, so it was
Yeah.
a good decision.
I think there will always be a pull at some stage in any business where you have a choice of, do you continue to focus on where you are great, or are you going to start expanding out and trying to do as much as possible? And there have certainly been a number of times where we've had those conversations of, should we also offer these services? And at the end of the day, we always made the decision that we really want to be the best at this. And in some ways, that would almost be a separate business to add in something like PPC. It's a totally different structure, the way that you manage everything.
For sure. Awesome. Now, at the beginning of the episode, I briefly mentioned like understanding your customer avatar. I think that's also something that people hear a lot, but from having conversation from different clients and going to events and so on, people don't really know how to figure out what is the avatar of their niche, right? I'm sure this is something that you must do on a daily basis, because if you're trying to create this listing for your clients that try to communicate on the same tonality, trying to use the same kind of terminologies to try to create that deep connection, you really need to understand deep down what is like that customer looking like in terms of the niche you're trying to sell to. So maybe let's start for all the listeners and the ones watching this episode, like how you start by identifying the avatar that you're trying to sell. Like, what are some of those initial exercises you will give us an advice?
Yeah. So the biggest roadblock that I see with doing this effectively is, I think, this fear that is very normal to have, but is not serving you as a business if you hold and lean into this fear, which is that if you are narrowing who you're selling to, then you're going to be missing out on your full sales potential. And it makes sense why you would feel that way, because obviously if you feel like a large pool of anybody between the ages of 18 and 99 who's living anywhere, who's interested in anything, could like your product, then narrowing that down and saying, I'm really going to focus on people who are between 28 and 35, who live in large cities, who are highly educated, and starting to narrow it down, then that might feel like you're actually turning sales opportunities away, you're turning potential customers away. But in fact, the opposite happens, because we need to remember something very important. Amazon is, and I'm talking Amazon, but this really applies to wherever you're selling, whether it's your own website or whether it's on Walmart or any other marketplace, which is that customers have a lot of options. And so you need to give them a reason to choose you. Some of that reason will be created by your product, especially if you have some new innovation that is different from what else is out there. But a lot of that is actually going to come from how you position your brand and the customers that you're targeting. And so if you're just trying to speak to everybody, then you're really going to water down what you're saying. You're going to dilute your messaging, and you're not going to be as convincing or compelling to your potential customers. And so a customer avatar is a great tool to be able to do this, because it is essentially building out a full profile of who your target customer is. And you don't have to choose one. You can definitely create a few of these, and it's normal to have a few, but you want these to be very, very specific, so that when you read that customer avatar description, you instantly have a picture of that person in your head. And so then that's going to help you decide what social media platforms you should be in, the
Exactly.
kind of language you're using. It does so many things. So how do you actually do that? How do you choose who your customers are? That's there are a few elements that go into that. So one is thinking about who are your competitors' customers. Is there any overlap there? Are you wanting to target and win over some of the customers that perhaps they're not serving? So a great place to go and start to do some investigation for that is your customers' reviews. A lot of times we're looking at customer reviews when it comes to the listing optimization stage and identifying what are those things that we can be talking about that we either do better or that are being ignored by our competitors. But those are also fantastic places to listen in on your potential customers and to understand what they're talking about, how they're using this product, and the way that they are engaging with a similar product. So that's a great place to go. Social media is also a great place to go. You have TikTok, you have Reddit, you have Quora, you have Facebook groups, you have YouTube, you have so many places. Reddit, I don't know if I said that
ChatGPT, maybe if you know how to use a ChatGPT, I bet you can use that as well. Yeah.
well, and what ChatGPT is great for is, let's say that you're wanting to look at these reviews or you're wanting to
Exactly.
digest a lot of content
Info.
from Reddit. You can feed that into ChatGPT and then ask it to tell you what the biggest highlights and takeaways are. You can even ask it to build a profile of those people based upon the information that it is reading and analyzing. And so, yes, ChatGPT, Bard, any of those AI tools are really going to help not only speed up this process, but identify certain connections, patterns that you
Yeah.
might have trouble doing yourself.
Awesome. Now, when it comes to, of course, identifying your customer avatar, I'm sure you're gonna then fall into a canvas that you have to follow, like specific type of keywords, specific types of tonality. But at the end of the day, we know that when it comes to Amazon, something that's very important as well is the what the keywords that actually bring in sales, right? That's when we do reverse engineering our competitors. We try to identify what are the keywords were there on page one. And what I'm trying to get with this point is that sometimes it's tough to keep a balance between having a listing that is very efficient when it comes to getting rank and getting exposure, but at the same time conveying that tonality and communication style that you want to connect with your avatar, right? So I guess, what is your advice there, like how you keep a balance between not fully going all the way only focusing on your avatar, but at the same time having a listing that is Amazon friendly, so you get rank, exposure, and all that. Yeah.
Fantastic question. One of the misconceptions is that if you just have the keywords in there, then that's enough to
Hmm.
index and rank. But ultimately, Amazon is more sophisticated than that. And they want to see that you're actually driving sales, that you are aligning with the keywords that you're saying that you align with. So obviously that's very good for us as both
Yeah.
customers and in competition with other people, because if you could just put in whatever keywords you want,
Exactly.
whether or not they're related, then every single product search results page would be a total mess and really
Exactly.
stressful and overwhelming. So yes, keywords are important, but you never want to lose sight of the fact that you're needing to convert people into customers. And so if you are prioritizing SEO over conversion, then you're really going to run into an issue. Something great is that Amazon is also expanding our ability to incorporate keywords into the back end of the listing. So
Exactly.
it's even taking some extra pressure off of how and where to include the keywords in the front end. So they just expanded the
Yeah.
back end search terms field, and that's huge. That's essentially giving you even more room to feel less pressure to always be putting the customer first. So you want to be looking for those keywords that are highly relevant. You want
Yeah.
to be looking for those keywords that have high buying intent. And then you want to
Mhm.
be thinking about how can you incorporate those keywords into the content of your listing in a way that is going to read naturally and is going to and is not going to create any confusion or bulky, making things too wordy. Essentially anything that's going to make the customer have to work hard. Anytime that you're asking a customer to put extra effort into understanding something or finding the information they need, that's creating an extra bit of friction, which is going to then increase the likelihood that they're going to abandon your page and go to a competitor and buy from someone else, which of course we do
Yeah.
not want.
Yeah. You mentioned there's something that is super important, which is the relevancy of the keywords, because I strongly believe like relevancy is key to have the high conversion. High conversion is highly connected to organic ranking. And basically what I'm trying to get with this is like sometimes people also struggle to find what are those relevant keywords, because nowadays you have so many tools, you have brand analytics, so sometimes it gets overwhelming, like what are actually the most relevant keywords I should have on my title, on my bullet points, my backend, and so on. So what is your take on that? Like how you keep a balance from avoiding having so many keywords and then losing really a track of what are the actual keywords you must have in your listing? What is your advice on that? Yeah.
So in some ways, it's almost the same type of mindset that you need to bring as we spoke about with the customer avatar, which it's really easy to convince yourself that a lot of keywords are
Exactly.
relevant and that you should be focusing on. But you need to be really honest with yourself about if somebody is wanting to buy my product, what are they going to be putting into the Amazon search box to want to find me on a search results page? That is going to determine relevancy. And so one of the ways that you can do that is once you've done some preliminary research and you have a list to work with, if you're trying to figure out, well, what am I most relevant? Which of these are the ones that I really should be focusing on? Some of that is actually going to Amazon and doing the searches for those different keywords, seeing what comes up and seeing how you fit in. So I think an example might help make this a little bit clearer when we're talking about relevancy. Let's say that you are selling an under eye patches for wrinkles. And this is a product that is meant for more mature skin. It's something that your customers are probably 40, 50, 60 years old. They're primarily, they have some expendable income. They really care about high quality ingredients.
Yeah.
So if you are looking at your search results page and you see anti-aging skincare, you might think that that is a relevant keyword.
Yeah.
But there are a couple of problems with a keyword like that. One is it's very broad. So it's going to incorporate a lot of things. It's not super specific to the exact product that you're selling. Another thing is that anti-aging skincare might also include skincare for people in their 20s and 30s who are trying to prevent the development of wrinkles. But once you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, you already have wrinkles. So then you're trying to minimize their appearance or make them go away.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so under eye patches for wrinkles would be a very highly relevant keyword because somebody searching for that is going to be wanting a product like yours. Another keyword that might fit into that would be something like remove wrinkles for under the eyes. So they're not necessarily searching for eye patches, but they're looking for some kind of solution that's going to help with that. So that's how you begin to think about those things. And then, of course, tools are also going to be a great asset in identifying things like where there might be lower competition, so higher opportunity to more immediately and organically rank higher, and lower ad costs, and all of those things to be factoring in as well.
Yeah. And something that I also been noticing is like Amazon more and more getting into basically an area where they don't like listings with a lot of text. Like we see how listings are getting shorter. The same we're seeing across like top competitors are using less bullet points and all of that. So in some categories, the search terms have been removed. So it's like they're giving us a hard time to really optimize our listings. So uh, based on this, like, what is your take from your experience when it comes to keeping a balance between having as many keywords as possible, but also try to play the Amazon game? Like, what are you seeing? Like, do we need to go more towards being more simplistic based on the results you're seeing, or you still can get away by leveraging as many characters as possible? What What is your
Yeah,
take on that?
great question. Definitely when I first started, it was
Yeah,
if you were
everything.
given 500 characters per
Yeah,
bullet, you would fill that up. That is
yeah.
not the way that things work anymore. And it goes back to really being mindful of what is going to serve your customers best. Because, for example, the bullet points are meant to be call outs for the most important information so that customers can say, yes, this is the product that fits what I'm looking for, or no, it's not, and I'm going to go elsewhere.
Hmm.
And so, if your bullets in particular are very wordy, it's going to be hard for customers to do that effectively. And like we were just talking about, you do have an increased space in the back end to incorporate those extra keywords, but you also have plenty of other space. You have your title, you have your description, you have
Hmm.
the A plus content, image keywords. So we have a lot of different fields that we can use to incorporate keywords. And so there shouldn't be this sense of pressure like you don't have enough room. It's very rare that we find situations where we are having to go extra wordy to incorporate the necessary keywords. It's
Awesome.
if you're really clear about relevancy and the words that you're targeting, then that will go a long way. It's when people start thinking like, oh, and this and that, and
Yeah,
oh, but also, you
I know.
know,
I know. It becomes a
under eye
book.
patches, gift for Mother's Day. Like, what mother?
Yeah.
I don't know that a mother wants to be told that she has wrinkly under eyes.
No.
So, anyway.
That's good. That's good. Now, when it comes to listings as well, something that is very important as well is placement, right? And I bet you get this question all the time, like, where do I put this keyword? Because we know depending where you put the keyword, it might have a different impact in terms of ACO, and it may even affect conversions, right? So being said that, like, what are some of the things you are doing in terms of placement that you are leveraging in terms of maybe strategy that you're seeing also bringing good results? Like, is there something different you're doing besides playing mainly with the title with for the main keywords or things like that? Like, what is your what are you seeing lately in the Amazon space when it comes to that? Yeah.
So you're going to notice a pattern of what I say, which is that you really want to be thinking about the customer. So when it
Mhm.
comes to your title, for example, you need to be thinking about what is my like most important, most highly relevant, highest opportunity keyword that I'm going to be going after, and you need to put that in the beginning of your title, because
Mhm.
that is going to be the thing that is going to grab a customer's attention to signal you were searching for this, and this is the product that you can go that you should be
Mhm.
going for. And so that's really critical to making sure that the right kinds of customers are actually clicking into your listing. And essentially, if you're not able to do that effectively, then none of the other effort that you're going to be taking matters, because nobody's
Yeah.
going to be seeing it. So you need to really be thinking about how to position your title in a way that is going to be signaling to your customers that this is the product for you. And then from
Good.
there, it's I think the main thing is just being very clear of what keywords you want to be using. I think we can get overly obsessive of like, well, this
Mhm.
keyword has to go in exactly this place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't necessarily see anything super compelling to say one way or the other. Have you seen data to suggest otherwise?
So we have seen, because we use, for example, data dive, that gives you like the listing ranking juice, which is something they came up in terms of figuring out what are the keywords that have a good search volume and relevancy, but not a lot of people, for example, are using on the title. Therefore, in instance, given the fact that not a lot of people are using on the title, you could get potentially rank on that page one faster. So that's some of the things we've been seeing. But when it comes to bullet points and other things, yeah, we're not seeing a huge impact. It's mainly on the title. Let's say you figure out a term that is like the typical loophole that in terms of a keyword and not a lot of people are using the title. If you leverage that, you're gonna rank better because you have in the title compared to
Absolutely.
competitors. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now the final thing I would like to touch on is split testing, because we know, especially with Amazon releasing the experiment tool, that you can split test, your title, bullet points, images, A plus content. But I want to stay mainly around the title and the bullet points, right? Because I think given the topic we're covering, which is understanding your avatar, then doing the copy around that, I think a lot of people may have the question like, once I do the perfect listing on the first go, which I always think it will never be perfect, it will keep evolving and evolving. How often I should do that? Because it could be a week, it could be a month, it could be 6 months. So based on your experience, like, when do you think people should start split testing their copy, and how often? Yeah.
Yeah. So just as important as when and how often is how. So you want to make sure that whenever you're doing split testing, that you're trying to isolate one variable, because otherwise it can be really difficult to identify what is actually, what does the data that you're getting mean. And so something that would be worth testing might be switching out one keyword for another in the title, but not necessarily changing other parts of the title. Or perhaps you want to be testing the length of the title. So does a short and compact title perform better for you
Hmm.
or in your category than a longer title that's closer to 200 characters? So being clear about first what you want to be testing is super important, and may also influence how often and how frequent, or those are the same thing, when and how often. So other things to be factoring in to determine when and how often are, is there a level of seasonality to your product?
Hmm.
Are there trends that are happening in your particular category that are going to influence buyer behavior? So are there things going on in the news or TikTok or in pop culture that are going to create new keyword opportunities that might
Yep.
influence the way that you are, like the types of pictures that you're using? So there's a lot that's happening that if you keep your finger on the pulse, then you have an opportunity to be ahead of your competition and to stay ahead of your competition. And so anytime that there's something like that that might be happening in your, that would be related to your category, that's an opportunity for you to be looking at your listing and see, are there some things that I might want to be updating or testing or changing? And then similarly, when it comes to how often, what the frequency is, that's also really going to be dictated by what's going on and also in your category. Some categories are a lot more dynamic, especially the ones that are very highly competitive,
Yeah.
very saturated markets. There's a lot more that's always happening. There's also, unfortunately, one of the downsides of doing a really great job with your listing optimization is then that
Yeah.
also invites people to copy you. So
Exactly.
even if you're great, you might need to be changing it up and testing new things, because suddenly you have a bunch of people that have copied what you're
And
doing, and what made you great is no longer a differentiator. And so it's really about making sure that you're staying up, not only up to date, but very aware of everything that's happening, and so that you can act quickly to make sure that if you have an edge already, that you can maintain it. And if you don't have an edge, something happening could be that thing that you've been waiting for to finally build that momentum and really soar to new heights with your business.
Awesome. Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for so much for those tips. So yeah, I think that will cover, I mean, a lot of the things I had in mind to go through, which is, the avatar, how to find the keywords, how to basically position the keywords across your listing and split testing, which I think is what everybody should be doing. But yes, other than that, I want to thank you for your time, Emma. I appreciate your knowledge, and as I told you, I follow you from the very beginning, so your content is great. And before we end the episode, I just want to give you another minute or so you can, invite our audience to reach out to you. I know you do services that support Amazon sellers on this field, and yeah, feel free to. What you got for us? Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So almost all of these topics I have videos on. So if any of these things you'd like to go a little bit more in depth, I just recently started a new YouTube channel, Marketing by Emma. So I'd love for you to check out those videos and
Nice.
geek out with me on all things
Good.
branding and marketing and e-commerce. We offer a free listing analysis. So if you've heard all of this and either you're thinking, I'm pretty sure I'm doing it all right, but I'm not sure, or I feel overwhelmed and
Yeah.
I'm not clear on what to do next. If you go to our website and fill out that form, we'll follow up with you with some things that you can implement into your listing yourself. Or if you would like our help, we would be happy to help you figure out what you need to do to take your business to new heights.
Thank you, Emma. So a pleasure. Looking forward to having the next one. Yeah. Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you so much.
Bye bye.
Bye.